Ali Abulaban, known online as Gene Kid, was once a rising TikTok comedian celebrated for his sharp impressions, particularly his Tony Montana impersonations, and short comedic skits that earned him nearly 1 million followers. To the public, he appeared to be a devoted father, a growing entertainer, and a digital success story, but behind the curated videos was a deeply troubled private life marked by jealousy, control, and obsession. Born in 1995 and raised in Virginia before relocating to San Diego, Abulaban struggled for years with small jobs while chasing fame, eventually finding success on TikTok. However, as his online popularity grew, his marriage to his wife Anna deteriorated. Their relationship became volatile, filled with arguments and mistrust, ultimately leading Anna to separate from him in 2021 as she attempted to rebuild her life while maintaining limited contact for the sake of their young daughter. Unable to accept the separation, Abulaban became consumed with monitoring Anna's movements, secretly installing a listening device on his daughter's iPad to spy on her apartment. On October 21, 2021, after believing he overheard Anna with another man, his obsession erupted into violence. Fueled by rage, he armed himself, drove to her apartment, and entered the residence, where he fatally shot Anna and her male friend at close range. The killings were swift, deliberate, and devastating. Afterward, Abulaban made no attempt to flee justice. He called his mother to confess, picked up his daughter from school, and was arrested later that day by San Diego police. The case, widely labeled the TikTok murders, shocked the nation as investigators revealed the extent of his surveillance and premeditation. Prosecutors painted him as controlling and possessive, and the jury rejected defense claims of heat of passion, citing overwhelming evidence including the hidden listening app, his deliberate drive to the apartment, and his decision to bring a loaded firearm. In 2024, following prolonged legal delays, Abulaban was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms without parole plus an additional 50 years for firearm enhancements, with the judge stating bluntly that he would die in prison. While the sentence delivered a measure of justice, it could not undo the loss of 2 lives or the lasting trauma left behind, especially for the daughter now forced to grow up without either parent. What began as a light-hearted comedy brand ended as a chilling example of how fame can mask profound instability, and how unchecked jealousy can destroy lives forever. Mahek Bukhari presented herself online as a glamorous TikTok influencer, carefully curating an image filled with designer clothes, luxury cars, and nights out that suggested wealth, confidence, and a taste of celebrity life, but behind the filters and polished posts was a reality far darker than her followers could imagine. In February 2022, her carefully maintained online persona collapsed when a late-night car chase through Leicestershire became one of the most shocking murder cases the UK had seen in years. At just 24 years old, Bukhari had grown up in Stoke-on-Trent and built a modest yet devoted TikTok following through fashion advice, lifestyle content, and aspirational videos that made her seem far more successful than she truly was. Away from social media, however, her home life was strained and volatile, particularly due to her mother Ansreen's secret affair with a man named Saqib Hussain. When the relationship deteriorated, Saqib, along with his friend Hashim Ijazuddin, allegedly threatened to expose private messages and images unless money was paid, sparking fears of humiliation and reputational ruin. Rather than seek legal help, Mahek and her mother devised a plan to silence the men permanently. Under the guise of resolving the dispute, they arranged a late-night meeting and enlisted several accomplices to carry out what would become a deadly ambush. On the night of February 11, 2022, Saqib and Hashim arrived in a silver Skoda near Leicester, unaware they were walking into a trap. Shortly after, Mahek and her group appeared in 2 cars, including an Audi and a Seat Leon, and what followed was not a discussion but a terrifying high-speed chase along the A46 dual carriageway. Witnesses later described multiple vehicles racing through the darkness, aggressively tailing the Skoda, swerving through traffic, and deliberately attempting to force it off the road. During the pursuit, one of the pursuing cars rammed the Skoda from behind, sending it crashing into the central reservation where it burst into flames, killing both men inside. The horror of the event was compounded by a 999 call Saqib made during the chase, desperately telling operators that he was being followed and that the men chasing him were trying to kill him, a recording that would later become devastating evidence at trial. Investigators quickly ruled out an accident, with forensic analysis confirming deliberate impacts consistent with a coordinated attack. Within days, Mahek, her mother, and their associates were arrested, and the case captured national attention due to its chilling blend of influencer culture, vanity, and calculated violence. During the 2023 trial, prosecutors argued that Mahek's obsession with image and status had driven her to help orchestrate the killings to protect her mother and herself from exposure, while the defense's claims of lack of intent were dismantled by text messages, eyewitness testimony, and the harrowing emergency call. In August 2023, the jury returned guilty verdicts for murder against Mahek Bukhari and her mother Ansarine, while several co-defendants were convicted of manslaughter. At sentencing, Justice Sweeney condemned Mahek's self-obsession and fixation on reputation, stating that she had treated human lives as disposable in pursuit of maintaining appearances. Mahek was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 31 years and 8 months, while her mother received life with a minimum of 26 years and 9 months, among the harshest sentences in recent UK cases tied to influencer culture. The aftermath was swift and unforgiving, as Mahek's once celebrated TikTok presence became a symbol of deception and moral collapse, flooded with messages of outrage and disbelief. Today, her social media accounts sit silent, her glamorous online life erased, replaced by a future behind prison walls where she may never regain F. Ruby Frank was once celebrated as the wholesome face of modern motherhood on YouTube, a family vlogger who built an audience of more than 2.5 million subscribers through her channel 8 Passengers, where she documented the daily routines, struggles, and values of raising 6 children in suburban Utah. Beginning in 2015, her channel became part of the booming family vlogging era, offering viewers what appeared to be an authentic window into faith-driven parenting, discipline, and family life. To her followers, Ruby presented herself as a firm but loving mother who wasn't afraid to enforce rules, positioning herself as a trusted authority on how children should be raised. Yet beneath the carefully edited videos and smiling thumbnails, there was a growing pattern of control and cruelty that many viewers initially dismissed as strict parenting. Over time, troubling moments began to surface in her content. Ruby openly discussed withholding food as punishment and forcing one of her children to sleep on a beanbag for months over a minor issue. While some fans defended her methods, others recognized these actions as alarming warning signs. Those concerns exploded into undeniable reality in August 2023, when one of Ruby's children escaped from a home owned by Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby's business partner and the founder of a controversial counseling group called Connections. The child, visibly malnourished, injured, and desperate, went to a neighbor's house begging for food and water, prompting an immediate call to police. What officers discovered next stunned the nation: children suffering from severe malnutrition, visible wounds, and evidence of prolonged isolation and deprivation. Ruby Frank and Jodi Hildebrandt were arrested the same day and charged with multiple counts of aggravated child abuse. Prosecutors later described the living conditions as shockingly inhumane, with allegations that the children had been starved, bound with ropes, and subjected to extreme psychological and physical punishment. The contrast between Ruby's cheerful YouTube persona and the horrifying reality behind closed doors sparked nationwide outrage and disbelief, as millions struggled to reconcile the image of a trusted parenting influencer with the evidence of sustained abuse. In court, the details were devastating. Investigators outlined a rigid and punitive regime that left children dangerously underweight and deeply traumatized. Although the defense attempted to portray Ruby as being under the influence of Hildebrandt's manipulative beliefs, Ruby ultimately admitted responsibility. In February 2024, she accepted a plea deal and pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, each carrying a sentence of 1 to 15 years under Utah law, with the judge ordering the sentences to run consecutively, exposing her to the possibility of decades behind bars. As crowds gathered outside the courthouse, former supporters expressed shock, anger, and guilt, grappling with how a woman they had trusted for parenting guidance could inflict such suffering on her own children. Ruby Frank's downfall became more than a criminal case. It ignited a broader reckoning over the ethics of family vlogging, the exploitation of children for content, and the responsibility of platforms like YouTube to act when warning signs appear. Today, Ruby's YouTube career is over. Her channel stands as a digital relic of deception, and instead of filming family moments, she faces life defined by prison walls. For her children, the road to recovery will be long and painful, and for the public, her story remains a haunting reminder that behind the illusion of online perfection can lie unimaginable abuse. Noah Gal wanted to be known for speed, luxury, and adrenaline, the kind of high-risk content that thrives on TikTok and Instagram, but at just 17 years old, his obsession with fast cars and online attention led to a tragedy so severe it shocked the entire United States. Growing up in Wellington, Florida, Noah lived a comfortable suburban life and, like many teenagers, became drawn to social media platforms where danger and spectacle translated into instant validation. He regularly posted videos of himself driving high-end vehicles, revving engines, and racing down public roads at extreme speeds, cultivating an audience that found his stunts thrilling while those around him grew increasingly concerned. One of his most disturbing habits was encouraging followers to guess how fast he was driving, sometimes offering cash prizes, blurring the line between entertainment and reckless endangerment. That line was irrevocably crossed on the night of January 27, 2022, when Noah got behind the wheel of his white BMW M5 and accelerated to an estimated 151 miles per hour on US Highway 441 in Delray Beach. Ahead of him was a gray Nissan Rogue carrying 6 farm workers who were simply heading home after a long day of labor. At that unimaginable speed, they never stood a chance. The BMW slammed into the rear of their vehicle with catastrophic force, crushing it and sending it into a fiery wreck that killed all 6 occupants instantly. First responders described the scene as one of the most horrific crashes in Palm Beach County history. Although Noah survived with relatively minor injuries, investigators quickly uncovered a disturbing digital trail of videos, posts, and challenges that showed a clear pattern of reckless behavior fueled by the pursuit of social media clout. Prosecutors argued the crash was not a tragic accident, but the inevitable outcome of a dangerous lifestyle he had repeatedly documented and glorified online. As the victims' families mourned the loss of hard-working men who supported loved ones both in the US and abroad, public outrage grew. Because Noah was a minor at the time, the case sparked intense debate over whether he should be tried as a juvenile or an adult. Ultimately, the court ruled that the magnitude of the tragedy demanded adult accountability, charging him with 6 counts of vehicular homicide, charges that carried the possibility of a de facto life sentence if convicted at trial. For more than 2 years, the case moved slowly through the legal system as grieving families waited for justice. In January 2025, just days before trial, Noah pleaded guilty to all 6 counts as part of a plea deal that spared him decades behind bars but still carried severe consequences. He was sentenced to 12 years and 6 months in state prison, followed by 15 years of probation, and was ordered to create a public service announcement warning others about the dangers of reckless driving, transforming the same platforms he once used for dangerous stunts into tools for prevention. For the families of the 6 men killed, the sentence offered little comfort. They spoke in court of empty homes, lost income, and lives forever shattered in seconds. The case drew national media attention, with headlines labeling Noah as a TikTok speed influencer whose pursuit of likes ended 6 lives, sparking debate over whether the punishment fit the crime and raising broader questions about how social media rewards extreme behavior. Today, Noah Gal sits in a Florida prison, spending what should have been the prime years of his life behind bars, his online following erased and his reputation permanently destroyed. Instead of being remembered for flashy cars and viral videos, he is known as a stark warning of how digital bravado can collide with reality in the deadliest way possible, proving that moments filmed for attention can leave consequences that last forever. Jeremiah "Jerry" Harris rose to fame almost overnight, becoming one of the most recognizable and beloved faces of Netflix's hit docuseries Cheer, where his boundless positivity, infectious energy, and larger-than-life personality made him a breakout star and an inspiration to millions. Born in 1999 and raised in Illinois, Jerry endured a difficult childhood marked by personal loss, including the death of his mother at a young age, and found purpose, identity, and belonging through cheerleading. His talent and charisma earned him a spot on the Navarro College cheer team, and when Cheer premiered in 2020, his supportive attitude and joyful presence quickly turned him into the emotional heart of the series. Fans embraced him as a symbol of encouragement, resilience, and kindness, and his popularity exploded beyond the show, earning him millions of Instagram followers, red carpet appearances, talk show invitations, and brand attention. To the public, Jerry represented the best of youth culture and the promise of how talent and positivity could lift someone from hardship to national recognition. But behind the scenes, that carefully constructed image was hiding a deeply disturbing reality. By September 2020, allegations emerged that Jerry had been engaging in inappropriate online interactions with underage fans, prompting a federal investigation that soon uncovered a pattern of unlawful behavior. According to court documents, Harris used his fame, charm, and access to young admirers to pressure teenagers into explicit conversations and images, exploiting the trust and admiration that came with his celebrity status. The revelations sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, instantly shattering his wholesome reputation. Netflix swiftly distanced itself, sponsors cut ties, and fans who once celebrated him as a role model were left stunned and betrayed. Parents who had encouraged their children to watch Cheer now viewed the series through a lens of anger and disbelief, and the show itself was forced to confront the scandal in later episodes. In December 2020, Jerry Harris was arrested on federal charges, and as the legal process unfolded, delayed in part by the pandemic, the scope and seriousness of his actions became increasingly clear. In February 2022, he pleaded guilty to 2 federal charges related to unlawful online conduct involving minors. At sentencing, his defense team cited his traumatic upbringing and asked the court for leniency, arguing that he needed treatment rather than harsh punishment, but prosecutors emphasized the profound harm inflicted on vulnerable teenagers and the abuse of power inherent in his actions. In July 2022, a federal judge sentenced Harris to 12 years in prison followed by 8 years of supervised release, stating that while his past hardships were acknowledged, they could not excuse the betrayal of trust or the damage caused to his victims. The fallout was immense, with national media coverage, widespread public outrage, and a permanent stain on what had once been viewed as a feel-good cultural phenomenon. Today, Jerry Harris serves his sentence in federal prison, no longer the smiling, uplifting figure millions once admired, but a cautionary example of how fame and influence can be misused behind closed doors. His story continues to reverberate through the cheerleading community and the broader world of social media, raising urgent questions about accountability, the protection of young fans, and the dangers of elevating individuals to role model status without proper safeguards. Once celebrated as a beacon of joy and encouragement, Jerry Harris is now remembered as a symbol of betrayal and downfall, his rise and collapse serving as a stark reminder that public image can conceal dangerous truths and that the consequences of abusing trust are lasting and irreversible. Ramon Abbas, widely known online as Hushpuppi, carefully crafted one of the most extravagant influencer personas ever seen on Instagram, presenting himself as the ultimate symbol of wealth, power, and success to millions of followers around the world. Under the name Ray Hushpuppi, his social media feeds overflowed with images of private jets, luxury sports cars, designer wardrobes, 5-star hotels, and lavish vacations, creating the illusion of a self-made millionaire living an untouchable life of global luxury. Born in Nigeria in 1982, Abbas came from modest beginnings, but by his 30s he had reinvented himself into a social media icon with more than 2 million followers who admired his apparent rise from nothing to elite status. To young fans, Hushpuppi embodied ambition and hustle, offering the seductive promise that success could be achieved through confidence, image, and relentless pursuit of wealth. But behind the perfectly staged photos was not legitimate business success, but one of the most sophisticated international fraud and money laundering operations ever uncovered. According to investigators, Abbas played a central role in a global cybercrime network responsible for business email compromise schemes, bank fraud, identity theft, and large-scale money laundering, targeting corporations, financial institutions, law firms, and even government-linked entities across multiple continents. Hackers working within the network infiltrated corporate email systems and manipulated executives into wiring massive sums of money into fraudulent accounts, after which Abbas helped move and conceal the stolen funds through shell companies and foreign banks. Prosecutors revealed that over an 18-month period, his network attempted to launder approximately $300 million, including a foiled attempt to steal $124 million from an English Premier League soccer club and millions more from a prominent U.S. law firm and a Qatari businessman. His lavish lifestyle was directly funded by these crimes, turning Instagram into both a personal showroom and an unintentional advertisement for his criminal success. In June 2020, the illusion finally collapsed when authorities, working with the FBI, arrested Abbas during a raid on his luxury apartment at the Palazzo Versace complex in Dubai. Inside, investigators seized smartphones, hard drives, and financial records that tied him directly to countless fraudulent transactions, while images of luxury vehicles parked outside the residence symbolized the scale of money stolen from victims around the world. After his extradition to the United States, Abbas faced federal charges in Los Angeles and, in July 2021, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to engage in money laundering. Court filings laid bare the enormous reach of his criminal operations, and prosecutors emphasized that he was not a minor participant, but a key facilitator in a global fraud enterprise that caused severe financial harm to countless victims. In November 2022, a U.S. federal judge sentenced Ramon Abbas to 135 months in prison, equivalent to more than 11 years, and ordered him to pay $1.7 million in restitution. During sentencing, the judge described Hushpuppi as one of the most prolific money launderers in the world, a man who flaunted stolen wealth online while exploiting global financial systems for personal gain. The reaction was immediate and widespread, with media outlets across the United States, the United Kingdom, Nigeria, and beyond highlighting how influencer culture had been weaponized to disguise large-scale crime. For law enforcement, the case stood as a rare example of dismantling a cyber criminal who operated openly while broadcasting his wealth to millions. For the public, it became a powerful warning about the dangers of believing everything seen online. Today, Hushpuppi serves his sentence in a U.S. federal prison, stripped of the luxury lifestyle that once defined his image, no privat. Austin Jones emerged during the early rise of YouTube as a platform where young musicians could turn bedroom recordings into real careers, and by the mid-2000s he appeared to be doing exactly that. Born in 1992 and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, Jones began uploading a cappella covers and original songs in 2007, slowly building momentum with his clean-cut appearance, smooth vocals, and upbeat personality. Over time, his channel grew to more than 500,000 subscribers, many of them teenagers who saw him as wholesome, approachable, and safe, and by 2014 his success had expanded into live tours and original music releases. To the public, Austin Jones looked like another positive example of how YouTube could launch a music career without the traditional industry gatekeepers. But beneath that carefully maintained image was a disturbing pattern of behavior that would ultimately destroy everything he built. In 2017, federal investigators began examining reports about Jones's private online interactions with underage fans, and what they uncovered revealed a profound abuse of trust. According to court records, Jones used his position as a popular YouTube musician to manipulate and pressure teenagers into sending him videos that no adult should ever request, exploiting their admiration and desire for attention. The FBI became involved, gathering digital evidence that demonstrated repeated and deliberate misconduct, and in June 2017, Jones was arrested on federal charges related to receiving unlawful material from minors. The arrest sent shockwaves through the YouTube community, as fellow creators distanced themselves and fans struggled to reconcile the allegations with the artist they believed they knew. Over the next 2 years, the legal process laid bare the extent of his actions, with prosecutors describing how he targeted young fans who trusted him, turning the very audience that supported his career into victims. Although his defense team argued that he was a first-time offender dealing with personal struggles, prosecutors emphasized the seriousness of the crimes and the lasting harm inflicted on vulnerable teenagers. In February 2019, Austin Jones pleaded guilty to a federal felony charge of receiving child sexual abuse material, and 3 months later, in May 2019, he stood before a judge in a Chicago courtroom to be sentenced. The judge imposed a 10-year sentence in federal prison, citing the repeated and intentional nature of Jones's conduct, and ordered extended supervision after his release to prevent future offenses. For the victims and their families, the sentence brought a measure of accountability, though it could never undo the damage caused. Public reaction was swift and unforgiving, with national media coverage highlighting how a seemingly harmless YouTube musician had been engaging in serious criminal behavior behind the scenes. Former fans expressed anger and betrayal, and the case reignited scrutiny over how platforms like YouTube protect young audiences and monitor creators with direct access to minors. Jones's career ended instantly, his videos were removed, his music vanished from major platforms, and his name became permanently associated with one of YouTube's most disturbing scandals. Today, Austin Jones remains in federal prison, with a projected release no earlier than 2027, and even then, his status as a registered offender will follow him for life, ensuring he never regains a position of influence. His story stands as a stark cautionary tale about how online fame can be abused, how carefully curated personas can hide dangerous realities, and how trust, once broken in such a profound way, can never be repaired.